What is the golden rule of real estate? Well, look, it's this. You've got to trust but verify. I hope you've heard this before, but if not, I'm going to drill it down in this short video. If you haven't heard, my name's Courtney Furkey. I'm doing one video a day for the first 100 days of 2025. Make sure to subscribe so you can hear the different videos each and every day. So let's jump into it. What is the golden rule? So trust but verify. I know it sounds simple, but it has saved me so much money. It has also made me so much money. But understand when I have failed to do it, it has cost me a lot. So keep in mind, it is critical to your success as a real estate investor that you master the golden rule. Let's break it down. So ultimately, when you're trusting but verifying, you need to learn to ask for data or to find the data for yourself. You need to ask for receipts. When someone says something, don't just, unfortunately, you can't just take people at their word anymore. I know. I'm from the South. I love a good handshake. I love, good people who their word is their bond. But guys, that is so hard and so few and far between, even with two country folks that you can spit on your hand and shake hands. You should still trust but verify, unfortunately. So, one of the first things, the condition of a property. So, with the condition of a property, if a seller says the roof is, 5 years old, well, maybe you can say, hey, do you have a receipt from that replacement 5 years ago? Maybe you should say, hey, where the seller says there's no actual issues, maybe then you are trusting and verifying by getting a home inspector. These things are super important, you guys. Don't just take, especially someone in a sales position, for example, a seller or someone else. You don't want to just take someone who's in a position to benefit from a sale or whatever. Just take their word for it. You want to do the work yourself. You want to go and look at the data, do the research yourself. And so there's a level there, even with home inspectors, right? You want to make sure when they point out things, I have had to train my eyes so that I can catch things. I have caught things home inspectors have not caught before. So that it's really, really important that you become an active participant in all the phases of real estate investing. All right, so going on with, you know, the so I talked about the condition, need to more than just trust, but you need to also verify. But what about the comps? Like what a property is worth or what could it rent for? A lot of times I say, hey, do you mind sending me the data for that? Maybe a real estate agent who's involved in the transaction. Maybe they are looking to list it for sale. They're looking to sell it to me. Maybe they're going to manage the rental. I say, hey, great. Do you mind sending me the data? Do you mind sending me the comparables that you're looking at? There are times that I've had, for example, sellers say, well, the house had a $205,000 appraisal. And I say, okay, great. Do you mind if I see that appraisal? One time, someone sent me an appraisal. First of all, it was an old appraisal. And then when I looked at the comparables, these were 1940s houses, and they were comparing them it was three houses on one lot that were from the 1940s. They were comparing it to a brand new duplex, like a 2020 something duplex. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? These are not the same, my friend. Not the same. Please get in the habit of asking for receipts. All right, the next one. With a tenant, maybe the tenant says, "Oh, I can afford the $1,000 a month in rent. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good." We'll say, "Okay, I want to look at some income verification, right?" So not only do I say, "Hey," I ask them, "Hey, can you?" I say, "Hey, can you give me where do you work? Which location, and can you tell me who your boss is?" And a lot of times they'll fill in a number for that, right? Well, I don't call that number. I get on Google and I look up, maybe it's the Popeyes on South Claiborne in New Orleans, and they said their boss name is John Doe. Well, then I'm going to look up the number for the Popeyes on South Claiborne, and I'm going to look up their phone number, or I'm going to stop in and say, hey, is John Doe the manager here? I'm going to say, hey, or do they, I'm going to call up because sometimes that phone number has been to that tenant's friend who's going to pretend to be John Doe, their manager, and verify things for them, right? If I'm seeing a W-2 pay stub, I am going to again work backwards and verify it. I have seen W-2 pay stubs doctored and, manipulated. So those are some things you can do. Another one, when it comes to the paperwork, for example, with the closing, even the best closing title companies and attorneys, I have caught mistakes in their paperwork. So trust but verify. You need to be an active participant in this deal in all phases of the deals, my friend. You need to say, hey, I'm going to look, I have caught the address wrong. I have caught my name wrong, my company name wrong. I have caught the seller's information wrong. I've caught the legal description wrong. And I have even caught the purchase price, the terms of the deal, other things like that wrong. Make sure you are an active participant. Review it. Don't just sign it, review it. I asked for it before the closing as well, so I can review it. My title company says I'm one of the most involved investors when it comes to deals. I'm like, good, right? Maybe I'll blend over to some of the other investors. If a vendor is, maybe you're saying, Courtney, how can I trust but verify if a vendor, so like a vendor, if they're licensed and insured. So if they're licensed, for example, a contractor, I'm going to go to the state, I'm going to ask them, where are they licensed through? Is it through the state? Is it locally? What does that look like? And then I'm going to go and Google the state licensing board and see if I can search for them in, that registration, the registry. If as far as them insured, I'm going to look for the COI, the certificate of insurance. I'm going to say, hey, if we do this job, will you be able to provide a COI, a certificate of insurance? Which basically, if they are insured, they will put me in touch. I've had plenty of contractors do this, put me in touch with their insurance person, and that insurance person sends me where they name maybe my company and the address of the property as basically a certificate of insurance for this deal that they're working for the job that they're working, right? Um, Maybe you're saying, hey, how do I know if a vendor is properly skilled to do this type of job? I may say, hey, are you currently working any jobs right now? If so, do you mind if I come and stop by and see the quality of your work? I may say, hey, for example, I may say, hey, do you have some referrals that I can talk to? I'm not always the biggest fans of referrals provided by the individual, but I'll take it. I like getting my vendor from referrals from people versus the vendor giving me referrals up front. But so that's something. And then here's the last one is, Courtney, how do I know how to vet someone who's an educator in the real estate space? How do I know that they're truly going to deliver, you know, help me get results? So you can ask them for referrals, right, from students. Um, One thought is if they have a very active social media and a very active, comment thread, I may put in there, hey, if anyone is a student of this person, would you mind if I DM you to ask you some questions? I'm considering their workshop or I'm considering a course they have. If they're not active on their social media, or if their comment section is not active, don't get upset at, if there's, crickets because, well, if people aren't already there in the first place, how are you gonna get it? um One of the other things I look for is that educator's message consistent over time. Go back and look at their older content. Have they been pretty consistent over time, or are they jumping from teaching you about Turo to now teaching you about buying, real estate, wholesaling, and now they're teaching you about Airbnb, but now they're teaching you about buying businesses? I'm very leery of that stuff. Um, one of my favorite things, one of my favorite things to do is say, if I'm wanting to vet another investor, say, hey, do you have an attorney or a title company that you work with frequently? And shut up. If they say yes, which a lot of experienced people do, then I say, do you mind if I reach out to them and ask them about their experience of doing business with you? If someone has nothing to hide, that shouldn't be a problem. I would then want to talk to that title company. I would say, hey, how frequently do you close deals with this investor? What has been your experience? Have you ever had any complaints from folks about this investor? Title companies and attorneys know firsthand because they're the ones closing their deals. That's a great way to do it. You can also ask for settlement statements and HUDs, but some people are a little bit more private than that. Um, But nonetheless, the title attorney, the title company referral is one of my favorites. It's easily one of the ones that I could easily give. Shoot, I do collaborations on my podcast with the title company I do business with a lot. So not hard for you to find them and to ask them about me. Guys, the golden rule in real estate, trust but verify. Learn to do the research. Please don't cut corners and be lazy. This is how people get hurt. People who just trust that someone, when someone says, oh, it'll be fine, it'll be worth this, but then when you actually look at the numbers, it's not. Guys, protect yourself, protect all parties involved. Be a active participant in all parts of the transaction. That's my tip for you today. Guys, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. One video a day for the first 100 days of 2025. See you tomorrow.